direct the city attorney's office to provide council that are in favor of this with some sort of support and some sort of firewall.
Okay. That would be great.
Well,
Councilmember Martin.
while we're on that subject, we sort of left it as what happens in a month. And I think typically when a new ordinance comes forward, the city staff does a public process, and they actually invite stakeholders to come look at what's being presented, get input, get feedback that then comes to council along with the ordinance.
Okay.
And I would like to ask that maybe Eileen, with the assistance of the city attorney's office, actually perform a full traditional public process for this ordinance before it comes back to us. And that would mean reaching out to all the stakeholders.
Okay.
That's
Okay, I think Eileen can do that, and it can also work with different parties to come up with what they think is a good product, and we'll have a discussion over the next several
Sure.
weeks about that too.
Mr. Knight, I don't know that we're really conflicted at this point with what the council wants, and so, that's something that...
No, I think there's a clear conflict. There's two separate opinions right now, and one from the executive branch and one from, albeit not 5 members of council, there is several members of council that were willing to vote on the resolution as it stood today. So I think it's only proper and just that some city support and city attorney's office support is provided to the council members that like the resolution, or the way it is, or with some minor tweaks, and that they be fired wall off, just like you fired wall off the support for the planning staff this afternoon, or on the Amendment A64 Club.
Well, I don't know who all has been involved in the office besides Winetta and Tom and Britt Haley, but there are certainly several attorneys in there who are knowledgeable about this, and so certainly we could find somebody, and I'll email Winetta about that.
I'd like to give a little bit.
Sure, Councilmember Miller.
I'd just like to give a little perspective on that, because council gave direction for me to go forward and work with the attorney's office. At the very first meeting, it was very clear that there was philosophical differences from one of the attorneys, and one of them there wasn't. I asked to use the one that was more inclined, and I even discussed it with Mr. Florzek. So you don't get to pick your attorney, which is fine. But I would certainly, because in that first meeting, there were at least 3 things, and I've got them documented, that I said, I would like to do this, and I was told, no, you can't do that. But the other attorney said, oh, yeah, you could work it this way. So depending on what the attorney is willing to do, or philosophically, I don't know if that's standard or not. But I had one attorney saying, no, you can't do that, and another one saying, yeah, if you did it this way, you could do it. So really, to say that there was a reasonable representation of the legislative interest from 5 of us that said to go forward is really, by the second meeting, it was, I will be the scrivener. I can no longer serve as your attorney. I don't agree with it. And then even after that, later on, I took every staff input, and some of the changes I made, some of I didn't, because the ones that were philosophical about, I believe that you should be able to have a utilities office building be the purpose, the public use for eminent domain. Well, I don't agree with that. And if the ordinance doesn't have that in that, and if you think that's important, then you vote against the ordinance. But it's roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. There were outside attorneys, and maybe they weren't hired specifically. They were already on, a retainer from utilities. That there were outside attorneys, and you can read that stack. There's some in there from Mr. Florzak asking, do you see any problems with this? Is there something that we're not seeing the problems with this? There wasn't ever anybody asked, hey, is there a way we could help strengthen property rights? Because that was the legislative intent. That wasn't ever asked. It was always, what's the problem with this? So to say that there's fair representation from attorney staff is absolutely, I'll leave you the adjectives to your imagination, but it's a problem. It's a real problem. And I guess that's the government that we're in right now, so.
Do you want to respond? I think he should have the right to choose, if he's going to draft it the way he wants to draft it, he should have the right to have that attorney work with him in the city attorney's office, so that he's drafting a product that he would like without obstruction. And I think we can come back to Winetta and ask for that. I think we can do that. And then we can also ask for a public process to have it vetted also. Okay?